Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm Nejib Friji, the Senior Director of the International Peace Institute, Middle East and North Africa, IPI MENA. I wish you all the best in all your endeavors, and on behalf of IPI MENA, I'm grateful for all of you for joining us today for this important webinar on Sudan's great role of women in the unbelievable conflict in Sudan, and in particular in this ordeal that is striking one of the most important nation in Africa, Sudan. We are glad to, in IPI, to hold this webinar called Women in Civil Society, Mitigating the Conflict in the African country. Thank you all for joining us. I would like to also thank our key speakers today. I start with Ms. Rasha Ahmed, CEO for Collaborative for Peace in Sudan, CfPS, as well as our other discussants. And I'm glad they are all women today. I recognize Ms. Balghis Badri, Director of the Regional Institute for Peace in Sudan, as well as her focus, I think, is of interest for us, as she's focusing on the gender studies in Afhad University for Women, Omdurman. I also welcome our friend Suleyma Al Khalifa, Director of Unit for Combating Violence Against Women, and Umayma Mustafa, CEO of Child Rights Watch, CRW, in Darfur. With this group of vibrant ladies, women, we are covering large parts of the considerable country of Sudan. And I do thank them for their role in helping their people and their country to overcome this unbelievable conflict. To look at the current situation or context in Sudan, the UN relevant agencies have found that over 1.2 million people have been internally displaced thus far since April 15, and approximately 425,000 have sought refuge in the Central African Republic, Chad, Egypt, Ethiopia, and South Sudan. The Food and Agriculture Agency and program have also elevated Sudan to the highest alert level, where hunger is set to worsen as fighting is putting people at risk of starvation. Both UN agencies and others, of course, estimate that 2.5 million within Sudan are set to face acute hunger in the coming months because of movement restrictions affecting people and goods. Within this context, we have women like our discussants today, who are playing key roles as civil society members and leaders, members of academia and humanitarian agencies, who are doing their best to mitigate the situation in their country. There is always hope, however. It's encouraging to see regional international players trying to de-escalate the conflict. While the ceasefire agreement was unfortunately violated, Saudi Arabia and US mediators are still trying to facilitate talks and are calling for the implementation of a new ceasefire towards a permanent cessation of hostilities. And let me also recall that very recently, Bahrain was among the countries that came to help to Sudan by supplying some emergency aid to the agonizing population in the country. We at IPI MENA hope that you will join us today at IPI MENA in calling on the international organizations, NGOs, and other influential stakeholders to extend a helping hand to those women who are working hard towards a peaceful resolution. We stand with the people of Sudan and remain committed to a peaceful solution and ceasefire to the conflict. Not only a ceasefire, but a durable cessation of hostilities there. With this in mind, I look forward to hearing our speakers on this important topic, but let me give the floor to our policy analyst in IPI MENA, Dalia Al-Alawi, who will deliver IPI key remarks. But allow me just to voice a reminder to our audience. Once we open the floor for questions and answers, please either raise your virtual hand with the given icon, put your question in the chat, or physically raise your hand and we will take the note or take note of that. Dalia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Nejib, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I join you, Nejib, and IPI MENA's call for greater initiatives and help towards peaceful resolution in Sudan. I think it's important to highlight that during this roadmap, women's inclusion in these processes must be taken into consideration. Multilateral and local actors should evaluate whether people in conflict-affected communities, such as in Sudan's case, are routinely consulted and their perspectives taken into account. They need to continually re-examine their understanding and operational definitions of ownership and inclusivity in mediation, peace processes, and peace-building initiatives. Women continue to be poorly represented in formal peacemaking initiatives, yet they suffer disproportionately as a result of conflict. If we look at the food security in Sudan right now, various NGO reports have found that women are eating less. So before the crisis, 42% of households headed by women had less food, compared to 31% of male-headed households. Women are key in the food production chain, and with current fighting, they can't access the farms and agricultural inputs to produce food, leaving families and communities unable to get food. And the lack of food has a direct impact on pregnant mothers as they are undernourished, contributing to an increase in malnutrition rates among children. According to UN organizations, including UNICEF, Sudan has one of the highest rates of child malnutrition globally. More than 3 million children under 5 are malnourished. And we read reports that state that 61% of healthcare facilities have closed in Khartoum because of the fighting. So you can imagine the danger it places on the population as a whole, but on pregnant women specifically as well. And it's known that women's physical security and gender equality in society are associated with broader peace and stability in states. Inclusive societies that provide equal opportunity for all are more likely to be peaceful and stable. As I've said, women are directly impacted by the conflict in Sudan. So greater inclusion of women in peace processes not only helps women, but it also helps sustain peace for all. Increased awareness of violence against women, growing support for women's empowerment, and more understanding about the links between inclusivity and development offer a unique opportunity to accelerate action towards bringing more women into the mainstream of making and sustaining peace at all levels. So IPI MENA is very grateful and also very strongly encouraged to see our key speaker and discussants today, these Sudanese women who have taken the time to join us and give us their insights into the situation on the ground and the work that they are doing as peacemakers and agents of building a resilient society. I look forward to hearing about the work you are all doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dalia. Without further delay, I will give the floor to Ms. Rasha Ahmed. As I said, she is the CEO for Collaborative for Peace in Sudan, CfPS. She will enlighten us through an overview of women in civil society in Sudan and the work of CfPS in the conflict. Rasha, you have the floor.
You need to unmute, Rasha.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rasha Ahmed, and I work as an Executive Director of the Collaborative for Peace in Sudan. Collaborative for Peace in Sudan is a local organization that works in conflict resolution and mitigations and peace building in several places in Sudan, several states in Sudan since 2006. This long time of working in peace building and conflict resolution has given us a holistic view about the conflict in Sudan, its causes, its component, and the reasons behind each one of them. And we have a holistic view, like I said, as well as that, we have our work in women empowerment, building the capacity of women. Many work is being done by the collaborative in several states, as I said, but I'm not going to focus on the collaborative work here only, since we are in a very important platform, and thank you very much for the IPI for giving us this opportunity. We'll focus about women during the war and the role that women could play in civil society, the role that they are playing currently, and the role that the woman could play after the conflict or in post-conflict area, post-conflict zone. During the war and after the war, women in Sudan has a very major role. As it is known for everyone, the burden or the big burden of the conflict is laying on women, children, and vulnerable people. And in Sudan, during this war, there is very important role that is being played by women in several places. Like, for example, in the villages that the people or the IDPs have moved from Khartoum to, women has organized support, several kinds of support and non-food item support for the IDPs and the women that and the groups of the people who run from the war in Khartoum. As well as other activity connected with sitting people for a school or finding space for people in a school, because in the villages or in the states, the education is still ongoing. And there is other role that women is playing in several places, in education, whether in combating violence against women, whether in women in very vulnerable areas. Like my colleagues here, I'm not going to talk about this in details, and my colleagues will talk about them in details. I will just go back to the space that should be given to the women is very important, and their role is very important in the coming period. Especially in the combating of the hate speech and disinformation. This should be a strategic work that women should be involved in, because this is like a small point which led to building coexistence community and will maintain the social fabric. It's not just a need for the time being, which we are really in need of combating the hate speech, and we have work in that. But there is a need for looking at the combating of the hate speech as a strategical work that we should consider if we need a very coexisting community in Sudan, and we need a very strong social fabric. Also, the women role in the civil society, increase of the women role in the civil society will lead gradually to the representations in the post-war, because if women in the civil society, or when the woman has a great role in the civil society currently, this will give them a space, or they'll gradually prepare them for the space that they should have, and they should have in the post-war. The presence and the participate of women in any negotiations is very important at this stage. Very important, because we are not talking about ceasefire only. There should be an include for a gender perspective or a woman perspective, which reflect sides that's normally ignored in all negotiations that's happening. When I talk about the presence of women, I mean a real presence which reflect the real issues and real concern and real problems that the women are facing. Real presence, not quota. And there should be also an initiative which is organizing or a mechanism that organize the civil society to a very important role is supervising and evaluation, monitoring and evaluation of the political process. This mechanism should have like a holistic approach, and there should be lots of people from rural areas who are living in that rural areas, and they are affected by this conflict, or the impact of the conflict is happening to them. There should be a lot of training for women, especially to have the specific skills. I think the role of the international community should be in the support that is given something that we call Sudan Conflict Observatory Remote Monitoring Platform. And there should be accuracy, verification, and speed. It's very important, this the speed issue. If the delaying is also causing lots of impact, which affect lots of progressing or lots of development in any situation. There should be, like I said, lots of training in that, in collecting information, evaluation of these informations. What this Sudan Conflict Observatory Remote Monitoring Platform could be continuing until the elections. I think that's going to be an investment for long term to guarantee effective representations from civil society, and will give us an opportunity to avoid the problems that's happened in the past. This observatory has to also another observatory or double check mechanism that help in making as accurate report as we can. And I'm expecting the civil society to play a role, a very important role with, of course, a serious support from the international community in prioritization the transitional justice. Now, to guarantee the stability and to avoid expansions of expansion or extension of IDPs and refugees to other continents in the future, in the near future. I think building on what is currently available in the civil society, who are providing services on the ground. So whether they are youth in the localities, or women organizations, or community-based organization, or initiative that do like accommodations and living for the people who are in need. These are the real actors, and they could be, or their role could be expand in the next phase, and the role could be expanded in the next phase, and this could be, I think, is a new start, or a real start for civil society that is respectable and have presence and could tackle the issues that really affect the Sudanese community with all its members. Like I said, there is many examples of good work that is being done, and there is a space for more work to be done, and there is a space for women to take a leading role, especially if they get the space they needed, and they should get it as an urgent need for the next phase in Sudan. That's briefly my point.
Thank you very much, Rasha. And now we move to women's role in education, women's rights, and the role of universities in the conflict. In order to highlight the role of research dimensions in universities and their key importance, I'll give the floor to Madam Balghis Badri, Director of the Regional Institute for Gender Studies, Afhad University for Women in Omdurman. Madam Balghis, you have the floor.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Afhad University for Women, I would just like to give a very short introduction, is the first women university in Africa and also in the MENA region. It was established in 1966, and the reason is to give more chances of empowerment for women. In 1986, we introduced a university required course. When we say university required, that all students should have that course on women and gender studies and gender and development. And then in 1997, we started the first master program. And it is the first and the only one now in Sudan on gender and development. And then it became, in 2003, we introduced a master on gender and peace studies. And then we joined the two courses together of development and of peace in one master program. And we have got more than 400 graduates from these programs. Well, I will go immediately to the role of universities in general. In Sudan, there are almost in all government universities, there is a peace center established since 2010. But in some universities like Khartoum University and Sudan University, it was established before that. Their main role is undertaking research on issues of conflict and peace building, as well as training for the different communities in the different 18 states of Sudan, besides the three in Khartoum University, Sudan University, and at Afhad University for Women. Universities, of course, as you know, have got big roles during the revolution because of their, you see, they are of different categories. There are the staff, professionals of different professions. There are the students of different class groups, of different age groups. And so there is this kind of diversities within universities population, transsectionality of class, age, profession, gender, disabilities, labor, and so on. That is why they are able actually to be part and parcel of the resistance revolutionary committees, be part and parcel of political parties, be part and parcel of different civil societies, besides their own university professionals union, as well as at each university there is a staff union. And recently, after the 21 coup, which happened in October, then the vice chancellors of different universities made an initiative. The women themselves, during the revolution, made different initiatives and established different women networks. There are 5 very well-known networks of women, one for women in political parties only, one for women of different categories, whether in political parties, whether at NGOs or at grassroots, and so on and so forth. And then there are other 2 of younger generations, like Al-Harisat, like حقنا كامل ما بنجامل. We are going to have all our rights. حارسات means we are the protectors of women's rights during the revolution and after the revolution, and so on and so forth. We at the institute, we have developed during just after the revolution in 2019 and 20 and 21, drafts of for commissions: the Constitution Commission, the Land Commission, the Electoral Commission, and the Women Commission. These were supposed to be commissions to be established immediately after the revolution. Unfortunately, up till now, they haven't. But we, as a group of women led by the Institute, we thought that so as women will not be marginalized, we should tell them that we are capable to write the different on these different commissions, and especially the issue of women land rights, the Land Commission, because usually women are marginalized in issues of land ownership, although they are the main farmers in most parts of Sudan, especially in West Sudan, inclusive of Darfur and Kordofan and other areas in Central Sudan. So the women have contributed quite a lot in all these kind of things. Currently, the women are working on issues of trauma counseling. Afhad has got established the first trauma counseling center, and currently we are working at a distance on this issue of trauma, because those who are now traumatized are traumatized from different reasons related to the conflict. Also, the women have also worked on the development of a 1325 plan of action, whether these are at universities, Afhad and Khartoum universities, as well as from different NGOs. The women now who are in Egypt are also they formed a kind of collectivity, and they are asking for how is it that we could help those women at the borders, because there are those who are pregnant women at the borders, giving birth at the borders. There are those who are very old women who passed away on their trip to the border. And so we are calling for how is it that the UN agencies and different international NGOs should help the Sudanese women to help, especially the young who managed to move to Egypt and to South Sudan. How is it that they could be helped with to help not those who managed to cross the borders, but those who are within the borders. These need quite a lot of help, and women are calling for that, and they are organizing for conferences, and they organized one with the African Union, women in the African Union. There was also an online conference on these issues, and now they are also working on a draft for a call to be given to the Arab League. So we are trying as women to reach to the different categories, whether the Arab, the African, IGAD, or the United Nation itself. This is also one of the things that the women are working on. Another aspect, the different now civil societies, especially professions at different from universities, we are collaborating to hold a conference at Arkawit. Arkawit is in Port Sudan. It is a summer place up the hills there, and it has got actually a connotation for the Sudanese, as the first meetings were during when people are also fighting for the independence were held in that place. So also women and I am part and parcel of this, and several other women are working on how really developing anti-crisis interventions and rehabilitation, and especially of the infrastructures, as well as the formation of a crisis management government from civilians, so that we could overcome this kind of problem and stop the war. When the war stops, we don't want it to be still a military dominated kind of government. It should be a civilian led government. And this is what different members of, then there are other initiatives also initiated by different university professors on this issue of what should we do during the, and give ideas about the demobilization and disarmament, as well as the 3 R's of the rehabilitation, reintegration, and resettlement. Another point I would like to highlight is that we should link economic empowerment of women with peace. It is not relief only. We don't want to have relief only. Sudan, as you all know, is a country with quite a lot of land for cultivation and for animal husbandry and for any kind of small business related to agriculture and animal husbandry. So we want to emphasize on that. And I remember that Afhad University was asked to write a paper on the issue of women economic empowerment. That was supposed to be on the 22nd of October, just 3 days before the military coup of 2021. And in that, I have highlighted that women are of different categories. When we speak about women, we do not only speak about women farmers or women nomads. These are very important categories. Women who are sellers at the streets and traders are very important category. Another category are business women who are doing business from home and using multimedia for trade and things like that. They are also part and parcel of the between brackets, the middle class. They are educated, but still, of course, salaries will not be sufficient for any household to continue. Women are the majority of those who are teachers and part and parcel of the teachers union. And also there are they are the majority of the students at all faculties of medicine at all universities of Sudan. When women are given equal opportunities, they excel actually, and this is very well shown in the numbers of those who are in medical faculties, as well as those who are currently medical doctors taking care of what is happening in Sudan. Sorry, I am not using actually the in order of the PowerPoint presentation. I am just speaking, not necessarily what has been written, because I wanted to emphasize the points that what should be next is that women should be part and parcel, as has been said, in the peace processes, and that is why they are organizing themselves, and they are giving different papers on the issue of how really peace could be undertaken and how demobilization should happen and things like that. Also, women are working on sustaining peace and democracy and how we could achieve democracy. So the women, either as a group by themselves or part and parcel of different different initiatives, civil society initiatives or universities initiatives, they are actually there. And so we hope that all international community would help us to work on these issues. And I just want to end by emphasizing that we should not work on relief only. We should work on issues of economic empowerment and resettlement. This should be our priority for any kind of future work. And this issue of rehabilitation would include rehabilitation of buildings and rehabilitation of the different economic aspects and industries that have been now destructed, and that impact on women greatly who are working in these different factories that were now greatly negatively impacted by the war and being destructed, especially in Khartoum state. We should also remember that different states in Sudan are not impacted by war, and we should work with this so as the people would not move outside Sudan. Those in Darfur could move inside Sudan. Those in Khartoum could move inside Sudan if there are enough kind of activities, especially now the rainy season is coming, and agriculture should be the priority for us to undertake and to help people in Sudan so as not to move outside Sudan. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Balghis. This is a very comprehensive overview of the situation in Sudan from the academic angle, and you went beyond and enlightened us on the key roles undertaken by women, be that in academia or civil society, with the coveted and badly needed roles of women in not only ending the conflict, but also working on the reconstruction, the rehabilitation, and the stability in Sudan. This is quite interesting, and thank you again on behalf of all our audience. And now I will open the floor to the audience if there is any comments on that or any questions. I will ask both our speakers, Rasha and Balghis, if there is any kind of coordination between the civil society actors in Sudan, given the difficult situation with the ceasefire failing every now and then, and the already hard conditions for logistics, for connectivity and all that. So maybe you could take the floor again, Rasha, and tell us if you are working on coordinating all these as part of these essential and instrumental efforts undertaken by women and civil society to tackle or mitigate, as we said, the impact of the conflict in Sudan.
Thank you again, Nejib. If I take the example of the collaborative, we work on establishing community mechanisms that we call them peace committees through our work. Why do we establish community this community mechanism or the peace committees? Because we believe in the people who are presenting in the place like 24/7. They will be the only people who can be able to evaluate the situation and respond immediately to any needs within the community. So within those peace committees that we establish, we have like we can set kind of coordinations, people who are in nearby states where the IDPs has moved to. There is kind of coordination, and they give us the availability of the accommodation in specific places, or they give like a background about the safety of the road that people can take, for example, to move from Khartoum to any nearby states, and they give some non-food items, like I said, the small ones according to the capacity of the community. because until now it's difficult to have bigger support. And in terms of between women and women's group, I guess there is a kind of coordination, like what Prof. Balghis is mentioning here. There is efforts even with the people who migrate to other places. They try to organize themselves in networks so that they can help or they can address issues which is not being addressed, to help their communities back, or to sort an urgent issues like the people who are stuck in the borders, or women who are suffering in the borders and things like that.
Thank you. Balghis, anything to add in this regard?
Yes, you see, there is this kind of networking between the different resistance committees in different places for the provision of humanitarian aid, whether it is that which is coming from Port Sudan and reaching up till Madani, or that which is actually by the Sudanese people themselves internally are trying to help. So there is this network. Then they connected with neighborhoods committees. There is a formation of neighborhood committees to help in two things. These neighborhood committees, whether for relief aspects or whether for the protection of houses from being robbed, especially at Khartoum State. Then there is this mechanism of stopping the war and building democracy. This is a wide network trying to come up with a kind of networking and communication between the different categories, whether they are political parties, because you see, as there are now main 4 blocks of political groups, political and civil groups, and these 4 blocks, the mechanism is trying to reach to them, as well as certain trade unions. And this is also one of the ways of networking, and the networking is basically on researching on the extent of the damages that happen and the cost that is needed to help in reconstruction, as well as in trying to lead to the Arkawit conference, so that people will come up with ideas for what is after for the emergency government. I would like here just to add something about Darfur. I think that it would be very difficult for humanitarian assistance to reach from Port Sudan to Darfur. As you know, that Sudan is quite a wide country. This is in the east, and that is in the borders of Western Sudan. So suggesting if there are any possibilities of airdropping, of assistance through airdropping, like what happened in the past in South Sudan, that could be the only way to save the people in Darfur from not just the starvation, it is death. Actually, they are going to die from starvation. And so the only way is through this. A connection with certain parts of Darfur is very difficult, because now there are no neither electricity nor any kind of services or telephone or communication, and that is why Jinena town in Western Darfur is completely cut from any kind of networking, and the people are running to Chad, and they cannot be saved unless through airdropping of assistance. So this is one of the problems, and now, as you see, communication is very difficult in Sudan. That is why some of our colleagues were not able to join in this meeting. But if I would just also be given a chance to speak about this issue of the violence against women, and what the unit is doing and what others are also doing in issues of violence against women. Violence against women are of major three types. One is rape, and there are now also documented rape cases by different lawyers groups. There is a lawyer network for this. And then there are those, and we are not sure about what is next to rape. Are they pregnant? Are they not? What is going to happen to them? Did they receive any kind of counseling and so on and so forth? So this is one of the problems. The other problem which they would face are those pregnant women who are supposed to give birth. And I know now of a relative who was supposed to have a cesarean birth, and it was not possible, and she's in Omdurman, and so she faced quite a lot of problems by those who are not professionals in cesarean giving, you see, kind of surgery, and she's facing now quite a lot of problems. And so this is also all those women are. Then there are those who are facing, it is both men and women, who are facing problems of kidney failures, and there is no actually access to any kind of now of kidney kind of what we call it, washing and things like that, serving them, those who need these kind of kidney services, and with diabetes and so on, and not enough of medication. And as you know, that most of the hospitals were closed, and the women are facing all these kind of problems, and sometimes because of structural things, if there is very little medication to be given, then the family will give it more to the husband or the head of the household more than for the wife and things like that. So they are facing quite a lot of problems, the women, in terms of the violence, these different types of violence they are facing, and there is a need actually to address these kind of problems. And there are very few, even during the peace, there are very few centers that are offering, and the unit of violence against women is trying to do its best in reaching women, and especially in Darfur. And but of course they don't have enough finances so as to address all the different types of violences against women, and to implement the 1325 plan of action, which includes several dimensions. So they need also support and more of networking with the other things that the unit also in issues of violence against women during the peace time, and maybe this is also could be highly highlighted now, is issues related to early marriage. This is another violence, and maybe many families are going to go into marrying their daughters at early age, so as to protect them from any kind of rape or something like that. For this is also one of the issues that need to be addressed, early marriage and female genital mutilation. So the unit is also working on this, and we have got a special center called Gender Reproductive Rights and Reproductive Health that address issues of violence against women, inclusive of early marriage and female genital mutilation and other aspects of violence. So maybe just on behalf of Suleyma, I added these points, and maybe Umayma, if she has got, she said she's going to Salima Center, and Salima Center is also a center that works on issues of violence against women. It was established after the Afhad University Trauma Center.
Thank you so much indeed for this very to the point coverage of the different aspects of women role, and as well as abuses against women from during the conflict and even other times. You mentioned the situation in Jenin, which is completely now isolated and with hardly any communication. And you called on the an air bridge that would drop very needed emergency assistance to the inhabitants there. I would like to seek your, if you don't mind, we have solicited much of your time and efforts. If you can say something about the role of women in tackling all these issues that you mentioned, from the abuses to the discrimination to the lack of facilities for the birth and child and mother care that must have been exacerbated by the conflict now, and if there is any roles that are imposed by this conflict to highlight the women's contribution in that regard. And also that would lead me to the other aspect of the conflict, the situation of children, especially that we know that children during armed conflicts or in conflict zones are vulnerable and are subjected to hardships, if not threats on their life and health. Thank you very much.
Well, you see, women, yes, they are working, contributing, as I need to emphasize again, that they are working on different aspects. One is trying to influence the different international actors in stopping the war, and in putting more pressure on the two warring groups. And this is something that the women are doing through their different means and trying to reach to the African Union, the United Nations, and so on and so forth, the Arab League. The other thing is that the women are trying to raise some kind of assistance to help all those who are in need of help, and they are part and parcel of whether the neighborhood or committees or the resistance, the youth resistance committees, and so on and so forth. And as I said, there are 5 main ones. There are women NGOs, women-only NGOs, or there are mixed NGOs, and they are all working on this issue of trying to give assistance during this war. The children in vulnerability is of 2 types. There are maybe all of you have seen those who are orphans, and how many of them died in their orphan house. 70 of them passed, and then there are the others were moved from Khartoum to Madani now. They found for them a place. So these are the most vulnerable, those who are without families, without parents. Then there are the orphans. Then there are those who are with their families, either that they are the newborn. These are the most, they found also kind of difficulty up till age 2. They find problems because they are depending on breastfeeding, and the mothers themselves are hungry. So how are they going to find food themselves, milk themselves? And so there is going to be, I think, a higher rate of child maternal mortality and infant maternal and infant mortality than before because of this war. Still there isn't, of course, statistics now, but when there is more information, we will find that this is a catastrophe on children. And that is why when people speak about aid and things like that, people also should think about what is suitable for the infants to be given to them, and what should be given to women during menstruation and things like that, for sanitary pads and so on and so forth. So these are all issues that need to be undertaken, and it is not just, as I said, relief, but also to help in the manufacturing of these things. Yani, it is a shame that Sudan should depend on importing these things, while it has got that very big capacities and wealth, animal wealth and so on, to have enough of different types of milk, powders and so on and so forth. And also for sanitary pads, it could be easily done inside Sudan. We have got a lot of cotton agricultural schemes and so on and so forth, the gum Arabic and so on. So I think also this is one of the things that maybe this war will make the people come together to have solidarity, to think of their rich resources, potential resources, which could be given, promoted. And in this direction, I have at one time wrote an article about what I called it a kind of cooperation. Between brackets, it is an advanced and more modern type. It is not colonization, it is cooperation, whereby we could have kind of any kind of small companies to be established, and this would be with shareholders between those who are outside Sudan, whether Sudanese or non-Sudanese, companies and so on and so forth, and between the local people. And instead of just giving us kind of loans, give us money for shareholders, for the poor people who are actually doing the work in agriculture or animal husbandry, and so on and so forth. So it is a time for us really to think of how to promote our potential resources into industries, small scale industries and so on, and really to have good cooperation with all those who are now helping us for relief. Let them go on and help us for actually development and sustaining development.
Thank you so much. I cannot have enough of listening to you. You have covered large aspects of this critical situation in your country. We express all our solidarity with you, with your people, and especially with the brave women who are challenging this situation and playing their key role. I don't know if you want to conclude by launching an appeal to the international community, you and Rasha, and to specifically come to help to Sudan, and with a particular focus on women in civil society activities and academia and others, in order to further promote this very instrumental role in conflict and in the various layers of society.
Okay. Maybe Rasha can start, then I will come after her. If Rasha wants to.
Maybe before Rasha starts, I'd like to see if somebody in the audience would like to put a question or add remarks. You're most welcome. Thank you. Rasha?
Hi,
Yes, go ahead, Rasha.
okay. I just want to re-emphasize that what mentioned in increase of or increase the support of the women in the civil society will help reaching to a tangible result in this period and the period after the conflict over, hopefully. And the presence and participation of women in any negotiation is very important, because definitely their point of view or the women's point of view didn't have the space to be reflected well or to tackle Sudanese issues in any negotiations. That's briefly.
Thank you, Rasha. Back to you, Balghis.
Well, what I would like to highlight are three aspects. One is actually related to Darfur. We have to do something to save Darfur. Otherwise, we might just lose Darfur, both its population and maybe its separation from the unity of Sudan if people neglected it. So we have to work very hard for Darfur. And to respect the diversities within Darfur itself, and to save the lives of people in Darfur. This is my main appeal for Darfur. The other one is related to women, different groups and networks, really to be strengthened, and especially representatives of women at the peace negotiations. There should be enough and equal representatives of women in any kind of peace negotiations or of any kind of conferences that are going to be held. And we are thankful that IPI really gave women opportunity so as to speak on behalf of all the other women. The last thing is universities. Universities could be helped by three dimensions through online education. If we could be helped with online education, so that, as you know, that the majority of universities in Sudan, 42 of the universities are inside Khartoum state. And so all these were closed. So we have got a large number of students population from both gender, but mainly also mostly are women. And we don't want them to lose the opportunity of education and then set back, and then their families will give them opportunities only for marriage and things like that, and in a different previous discriminatory kind of roles, of reproductive role only. So we would like really to save the universities and give opportunities for all girls to have to continue with their education, and also their role on short training courses on issues of peace and conflict resolution, especially this aspect of negotiation. What is negotiation? What are the skills of negotiation and mediation? From my experience, I noticed that many of the Sudanese, they mix between negotiation skills and mediation skills, and they are not very good in these kind of skills. So let us try also to see if there will be any kind of online free courses on these aspects that could be offered by different universities. We at Afhad University for Women, we are actually working on this aspect of online. I hope I am very well heard.
Yeah,
You are very well heard, and this appeal will be voiced through IPI, and I don't think we have anything to add on your wise and realistic remarks. I would like to, on behalf of the audience, thank you, thank all through you, thank the Sudanese women who are braving the situation and paving the way for their role, and as you mentioned in your appeal, to be involved in all aspects of the situation in Sudan, from the humanitarian to the academic to the political, in order to find a durable solution to Sudan. Thank you again, everybody. We will see you very soon, and with further follow-up on Sudan. Wishing Sudan peace. Thank you.